You know what's exhausting? Living like everything depends on you. Like if you don't hold it together, if you don't plan every step, if you don't force every door open, everything will fall apart. You wake up tired. You go to bed worried. Your mind never rests because you're always 10 steps ahead, trying to control what hasn't even happened yet. And the truth is, you're suffering. You're suffering because you're carrying a weight that was never meant to be yours alone. There's this belief we carry deep inside, that if we just try hard enough, if we just think ahead enough, if we just control every little thing, life will go the way we want. But that's a lie. That's the lie that keeps you up at night. That's the lie that makes your chest tight when things don't go according to your plan. Because life doesn't ask for your permission to change. People don't move at your pace. God doesn't work on your schedule. And the harder you try to control it all, the more it slips through your fingers like sand. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there right now. Trying to control how someone feels about you. Trying to force a relationship to work when it's clearly falling apart. Trying to make something happen before it's time. Trying to fix people who don't want to be fixed. Trying to plan every outcome so you never feel pain again. And all you're doing is exhausting yourself. All you're doing is creating more anxiety, more frustration, more disappointment. Because control is an illusion. You never really had it. None of us do. And here's the hardest truth. The more you try to control, the less peace you have. You think control gives you security, but it doesn't. It gives you worry. It gives you sleepless nights. It gives you a heart that's always on edge, always waiting for the next thing to go wrong. You become a prisoner to your own need for certainty. And life, real life, doesn't offer certainty. It offers faith. It offers trust. It offers the chance to let go and believe that something bigger than you is holding it all together. Think about it. How many times have you tried to control something, only to watch it fall apart anyway? How many times have you planned every detail, only to have life surprise you with something completely different? How many times have you held on so tight that you didn't even realize you were pushing away the very thing you wanted to keep? Control doesn't protect you. It isolates you. It makes you rigid. It makes you unable to receive what's actually coming your way because you're too busy forcing what you think should come. And the saddest part? You suffer alone. Because when you try to control everything, you can't ask for help. You can't lean on anyone. You can't trust that someone else might know better. You can't trust that God might have a plan that's better than yours. You just keep pushing, keep forcing, keep trying to make everything fit into the tiny box of what you think is safe. But that box becomes a cage. And you're the one who locked yourself inside. There's a reason you're tired. There's a reason you're anxious. There's a reason you feel like you're always fighting. It's because you're trying to be God. You're trying to do what only He can do. You're trying to control the uncontrollable. And it's breaking you. It's stealing your joy. It's stealing your peace. It's stealing the beauty of simply being present in your own life. Because you're so busy trying to control the future that you're not even living today. Maybe you learned this. Maybe someone taught you that you couldn't trust anyone, not even God. Maybe life hurt you so badly that you decided you'd never let it surprise you again. Maybe you've been disappointed so many times that you thought, if I control everything, I'll never feel that pain again. But that's not living. That's surviving. And surviving isn't the same as being alive. Being alive means trusting. It means letting go. It means believing that even when things don't go your way, you'll still be okay. Because God is still God, even when you're not in control. Here's what you need to hear today. You were never supposed to carry it all. You were never supposed to have all the answers. You were never supposed to control how everything unfolds. That's not your job. Your job is to show up. Your job is to do your part. Your job is to trust that what's meant for you will find you, and what's not meant for you will pass by, no matter how hard you try to hold on. Your job is to have faith. And faith, real faith, means letting go. I know it's scary. I know it feels like if you let go, everything will fall apart. But maybe, just maybe, everything needs to fall apart so something better can come together. Maybe you're holding on to things that are already dead. Maybe you're forcing doors that are meant to stay closed. Maybe you're exhausting yourself trying to control a story that God is already writing. And maybe, if you just loosened your grip a little, you'd finally feel the relief you've been searching for. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know what's coming next. You don't have to control every person, every situation, every outcome. You just have to trust. Trust that you're exactly where you need to be. Trust that what's falling apart needed to fall apart. Trust that what's not working out is making room for something that will. Trust that God sees you, knows you, and hasn't forgotten about you, even when it feels like everything is out of your hands. Because here's the truth that will set you free. When you stop trying to control everything, you finally start to live. You finally start to breathe. You finally start to feel peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer trying to make it perfect. You're just letting it be. You're just trusting that whatever happens, you'll be held. You'll be guided. You'll be okay. So if this message is speaking to you right now, if you're tired of carrying that weight, if you're ready to stop suffering in the exhaustion of control, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel. Leave a like. Not for me, but so more people who need to hear this can find it. Because there are so many people out there, just like you, who are suffering in silence, thinking they have to hold it all together. And maybe this message is the permission they need to finally let go. You suffer less when you stop controlling everything. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's faith. That's freedom. And it's waiting for you the moment you're brave enough to open your hands and trust. You want to know how you can tell you're trying to control too much? Listen to your body. Listen to your heart. They're speaking to you every single day, and most of the time, you're ignoring them. Your body is tense. Your shoulders are tight. Your jaw is clenched. You wake up already tired because your mind never stopped working through the night. You're irritable with people you love. You snap at small things. You feel like you're always on the edge of something breaking. That's not just stress. That's your soul telling you that you're holding on too tight. When you're trying to control everything, you can't enjoy anything. You're at a family gathering, but you're thinking about what needs to happen next week. You're in a conversation, but you're already planning your response before the other person finishes talking. You're in a moment of rest, but your mind is 3 steps ahead, worrying about what could go wrong. You're physically present, but emotionally, you're somewhere else. And that's no way to live. That's existing, not living. That's surviving, not thriving. Here's another sign: you're exhausted by other people. Because when you need to control everything, you need to control them too. You need them to respond a certain way. You need them to make decisions that make sense to you. You need them to move at your speed, think like you think, feel what you feel. And when they don't, you're frustrated. You're disappointed. You feel betrayed, even when they didn't do anything wrong. They just didn't fit into the plan you made for them in your head. And that frustration, that's not about them. That's about you trying to control something you were never meant to control. You can't control how people feel about you. You can't control whether they stay or leave. You can't control if they choose you or choose something else. You can't control their healing, their growth, their journey. All you can control is how you show up, how you love, how you honor yourself. And when you try to control beyond that, you're stepping into God's territory. You're trying to play a role that's not yours. And it will always leave you disappointed because people are not puppets. They have free will. They have their own paths. And sometimes, those paths lead away from you, no matter how hard you try to hold on. And here's the part that hurts the most: when you try to control people, you lose them. Because no one wants to be controlled. No one wants to feel like they're a project, like they're being managed, like their choices don't matter. People want to be loved, not fixed. They want to be accepted, not changed. And when you can't let go of control, you push away the very people you're trying to keep close. You suffocate the relationship. You create resentment. You build walls instead of bridges. All because you couldn't trust that love doesn't need to be controlled to be real. But it's not just people. You try to control time. You try to rush things that need to grow slowly. You try to force outcomes before their season. You try to make things happen on your timeline because waiting feels like losing. But God's timing is not your timing. And when you try to speed up what He's carefully putting together, you end up with something broken. You end up with something that looks right but feels wrong. You end up with the counterfeit instead of the real thing, just because you couldn't wait. Just because you couldn't trust that what's meant for you is already on its way. Think about a seed. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You don't pull on it to make it grow faster. You water it. You give it sunlight. And then you trust the process. You trust that underneath the surface, something beautiful is happening, even when you can't see it yet. But when you try to control everything, you're constantly digging up the seed. You're checking, worrying, forcing. And all you're doing is damaging the very thing you're trying to grow. Maybe you're doing this with your healing. You want to be over it already. You want to stop hurting. You want to move on faster than your heart is ready to move. So you force yourself to be okay when you're not. You pretend you're healed when you're still bleeding. You rush into something new because sitting with the pain feels like failing. But healing can't be controlled. It has its own pace. It has its own process. And when you try to skip steps, you just end up carrying the same wounds into the next season. You end up repeating the same patterns because you never gave yourself permission to truly heal. Or maybe you're doing this with your future. You need to know how it's all going to work out. You need guarantees. You need to see the entire path before you take the first step. But that's not faith. Faith is taking the step without seeing the staircase. Faith is trusting that the next step will be revealed when you need it, not before. Faith is believing that God is ordering your steps, even when you don't understand where you're going. And when you demand to see it all, when you need to control the outcome before you even begin, you miss the miracle. You miss the growth. You miss the beauty of the journey. Let me tell you something you need to hear. God doesn't need your help. He doesn't need you to figure it all out. He doesn't need you to force doors open. He doesn't need you to manipulate situations or control people. He just needs you to trust Him. He just needs you to do your part and leave the rest to Him. And your part is simple. Show up, do your best, love well, and let go. That's it. Everything else is His job. And He's really, really good at His job. But letting go feels like losing. I know. It feels like giving up. It feels like you're just accepting defeat. But it's not. Letting go is not the same as not caring. Letting go is not the same as quitting. Letting go is saying, I've done what I can do. Now I trust that what's meant to happen will happen. I trust that I'm being guided. I trust that I'm being protected. I trust that even if it doesn't look like I imagined, it's still going to be good. That's not weakness. That's courage. That's faith in action. And here's what happens when you finally let go. You breathe. You feel lighter. You stop fighting battles that aren't yours to fight. You stop carrying burdens that aren't yours to carry. You start to see that life is actually working in your favor, even when it doesn't feel like it. You start to notice the little blessings you were too stressed to see before. You start to feel peace, real peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer trying to make it perfect. You're just trusting that it's exactly what it needs to be. If you're still watching, if this is hitting home, I want to ask you something. Take a moment and like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because this message isn't just for you. It's for every person who's exhausted from trying to hold their life together. It's for everyone who's been taught that they have to be strong, that they have to have it all figured out. And maybe, just maybe, this is the reminder they need that it's okay to let go. It's okay to trust. It's okay to stop controlling and start living. There's a moment that changes everything. It's the moment when you finally stop fighting. When you finally say, I can't do this anymore. I can't carry this weight. I can't control how this turns out. I'm letting go. And in that moment, something shifts. Not in your circumstances, but in you. Because for the first time, you're not trying to be in control. You're surrendering. And surrender, real surrender, is where freedom begins. You've been told that surrender means giving up. That it means you're weak. That it means you failed. But that's not true. Surrender is not defeat. Surrender is trust. It's saying, God, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I trust that you do. I don't know why this is happening, but I trust that you see what I can't see. I don't know what's next, but I trust that you're already there. And when you surrender like that, when you truly let go, you stop suffering. Because suffering comes from resistance. It comes from fighting against what is. It comes from needing life to be different than it is right now. Think about how much energy you've spent resisting. Resisting pain. Resisting change. Resisting loss. Resisting the truth. Resisting people's choices. Resisting God's timing. And all that resistance has done is keep you stuck. It's kept you in the same cycle, the same pattern, the same suffering. Because you can't heal what you won't accept. You can't move forward when you're still trying to control what's behind you. You can't receive what's new when you're clinging so tightly to what's old. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you become cold or indifferent. It means you stop making yourself sick over things you cannot change. It means you stop losing sleep over people who've already made their choice. It means you stop begging God to give you something He's clearly protecting you from. It means you finally trust that closed doors are closed for a reason. That unanswered prayers are answered prayers. That what didn't work out is making space for what will. And when you start living like that, everything changes. You stop feeling like a victim. You stop feeling powerless. You stop waiting for life to go back to the way it was. You start moving forward with faith. You start seeing that every ending is also a beginning. That every loss is making room for something better. That every disappointment is redirecting you toward what's truly meant for you. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? And that shift in perspective changes everything. Maybe you've been holding on to a relationship that's already over. You've been trying to fix it, control it, make it work. But deep down, you know it's done. You know it's not healthy. You know you're the only one fighting. And yet you can't let go because letting go feels like losing. But here's the truth. You're not losing anything that was meant to stay. You're releasing what's already gone so your hands are free to receive what's coming. And what's coming is so much better than what you're holding on to. But you'll never know that until you let go. Or maybe you've been trying to control your children. Trying to make them into who you think they should be. Trying to protect them from every mistake, every pain, every hard lesson. But you can't live their lives for them. You can't control their choices. You can't save them from their own journey. All you can do is love them, guide them, pray for them, and trust that God loves them even more than you do. And sometimes, the greatest act of love is stepping back. It's letting them fall so they can learn to stand on their own. It's trusting that they're not yours to control. They're God's. And He's watching over them even when you can't. Or maybe it's your health. You've been fighting it, resisting it, angry at it. And that anger is only making it harder. Because your body is not your enemy. It's been carrying you through everything. And maybe instead of trying to control how fast you heal, you need to honor where you are. You need to be gentle with yourself. You need to trust that your body knows what it's doing, even when it's not moving at the speed you want. Healing is not linear. It's messy. It's slow. It's frustrating. But it's happening. And the more you try to control it, the more you slow it down. Here's what I've learned. Peace doesn't come from having everything under control. Peace comes from trusting the one who is in control. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you're held. You're loved. You're not alone. It comes from believing that God is working even when you can't see it. Even when it hurts. Even when it doesn't make sense. Even when it feels like everything is falling apart. He's still there. He's still guiding. He's still protecting. And he's never once let you fall without catching you. So what if you just trusted that? What if you stopped trying to figure it all out and just trusted that it's already figured out? What if you stopped trying to force things and just let them unfold the way they're meant to? What if you stopped carrying the weight of the world and just carried today? Just this moment. Just this breath. Because that's all you really have. This moment. And in this moment, you're okay. You're breathing. You're here. You're still standing. And that's enough. You don't need to know what tomorrow brings. You don't need to control what next month looks like. You don't need to have a 5-year plan. You just need to show up today. You just need to be present. You just need to trust that tomorrow will take care of itself. Because it always has. You've made it through every hard day so far. You've survived every storm. You've gotten through every moment you thought would break you. And you're still here. That's proof. That's proof that you're stronger than you think. That's proof that God has never left you. That's proof that you don't need to control anything to be okay. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop trying to control everything, you finally get to experience life. You get to feel joy without waiting for the other shoe to drop. You get to love without needing guarantees. You get to dream without needing to know exactly how it's going to happen. You get to rest without feeling guilty. You get to trust that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And that trust, that peace, that freedom, it's not something you earn. It's something you receive the moment you open your hands and stop trying to hold everything yourself. So I'm going to ask you one more time. If this message touched you, if it's speaking to something deep inside, subscribe to this channel. Leave a like. Leave a comment telling me what you're letting go of today. Because your story matters. Your surrender matters. And someone else needs to see that they're not alone in this. That it's okay to stop fighting. That it's okay to trust. That it's okay to finally let go. You suffer less when you stop controlling everything. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop making it harder. Not because everything works out the way you planned, but because you finally trust that it's working out the way it's supposed to. Not because you have all the answers, but because you trust the one who does. And that, my friend, is where real peace lives. That's where freedom lives. That's where you start to truly live again. Let go. Trust. Breathe. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to be free.